Hey mamas, welcome to Small Biz Mama, episode 9. The number one most important tip for being a successful business owner with kids at home. And now I know you've got kids at home right now. And if you are like me, you are struggling to get things done. When I first had my son, and especially when he was like really, really little, so let me start. He's like an amazing kid, and he was an amazing baby. And he was born December 27th, and I am a tax accountant. So, he was born December 27th. We rolled right into tax season. So it was like we had, his little we had the pack and play, that had all the baby attachments on top. And he would be, in his little baby attachment asleep, right, on top of the pack and play. And we were good. Like, we were good to go, right? And we worked. And then he became mobile. And then that did not work anymore. And so Jeff and I really had to look at, like, okay, what work are we doing? How can we keep working, right? Because now we've got this toddler that wants to move and talk and grow and not let us work, right? And if you try to like put him on your lap to work, he's going to type at your keyboard, right? And as your kids get older, it just becomes more difficult. So, I mean, this is really simple. Like, this is not going to be a productivity tip. The most important thing about being successful with kids at home is about being realistic with what you can accomplish. That's it. Like, okay, we could cut the episode right there. Okay, no, we're not going to. Okay. So, and this is something that I struggle with on a routine basis. When I'm thinking to myself, why can't I get it all done? And why does my to-do list keep getting longer? And it's typically because when I look at it, okay, I'm trying to pack 12 hours worth of work into a 4-hour day. That is typically what messes me up. Okay. So you need to be realistic about what your schedule will look like, especially now, right? So if you're still on lockdown where you are, it's much, much harder. Okay. And, I'm going to soapbox 2 episodes in a row. All of these employers that think that we're all just going to work, 8 hours a day at our desk while our kids are at home, and the schools are expecting us to homeschool, and the employers are expecting you to work, and everybody's expecting you to be able to wear 17 hats at the same time. Shout out to my CRM. It's not possible. It's just not possible. Something has to give. Okay. And so, and that's why, and a lot of people don't know this. If you're working for an employer, there is actually a provision in the CARES Act, or maybe it's the Families First Act. I think it's the Families First Act, that said that if you work for a company that has less than 500 employees, you can get paid if your children are home because their school or their daycare is closed. So it's funny because in all this, the government realized that it's impossible for people to try to homeschool and work at the same time. But employers don't get that. And I think we don't get that either, right? So, and I know that that's really hard. And for us as business owners, right, like those of us that are fortunate enough to still have work, that can work from home, that we still have clients that need us, there's still demand for what we do. it's really, really hard because I think that there's this pressure that says, okay, I've got to make as much money as I can because at some point the money's going to dry up, which may or may not be true. But we push ourselves to think, okay, we have to go at warp speed and try to do all the things at the same time. And that's where we start to burn out and freak out and lose our stuff. I'm trying to keep this as, clean as possible. So that's when we lose it, is when we're trying to do too much. Okay, and I totally get that. So over the past couple weeks, behind the scenes of my life, right? So people are like, oh, well, this is, if I hear one more person that says like I should be learning something deep and meaningful and wonderful because I have so much time on my hands, I'm going to lose my stuff, I'm pretty sure. Because over the past 2 months, this has been probably the busiest tax season I have ever had. And I'm so far behind on taxes, it's not even funny. So many of you know, and many of you probably don't know. So I teach at a university, which we had to move all of our classes online, and I was helping other faculty move their classes online. Because I've taught online for a long time. But we had to move, I had to move one of my classes online. And people don't really understand that teaching online classes takes a lot longer than teaching in-person classes. So I was doing that. I was helping other faculty, trying to help my students kind of adjust to this. And so that was really time consuming. Then we had all the mess with the PPP loans and the SBA loans and the EIDL loans and all that stuff. And you can't get a hold of your banks. And so I've been helping my clients with that. I've been helping other businesses with that. I've been consulting with other CPAs. So that took up a lot of time. And then there's just the stress of all this, right? Of trying to figure out, I'm a cancer survivor. So I don't know how much damage has been done to my immune system. I don't really know how much damage has been done. Like right now, all my tests come back okay. But I'm kind of worried of like what this would do, to my system. My mom's 80. I've got other family members that are immunocompromised. So Jeff and I have been very, very cautious. So just trying to figure out like, where are you going to get groceries from and how are we going to get this? And, crap, I didn't even think to, try to order that. And, just like the day-to-day life is a lot harder now. And it's a lot more stressful now, right? There's like this baseline of stress that's like right here, right? All the time. It's like right at your nose. And so it's a lot, right? And so I think I really spent the first 2 months of this, because I'm recording this at the beginning of May. And we've been home for about 2 months. I think it's 2 months today. And it's a lot. And I spent the first 2 months really kind of reacting to this and trying to fit in everything that needed to be done on a daily basis as if nothing else was going on, right? As if everything was normal. As if, my mother was still coming over 2 mornings a week. And, we could go out on the weekends and do our shopping. And we didn't have to fight with the online services. And, someone would, we'd go to a restaurant, once or twice a week for dinner just to kind of unwind, right? And we didn't have that anymore, right? And so I'm trying to do the same level of Kristen that I normally do, and it was not working. It absolutely was not working. Because the amount of information that was coming in, right? And so like I use Voxer to communicate with my clients a lot. The volume of Voxes and emails and messages on Facebook, and it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And so I was being very reactive, right? And I'm trying to push all this stuff in. And finally, last week during my mastermind, I just kind of looked at Jeff and I'm like, all right, I need to figure out like what my schedule really looks like. Like, what do I really have time to do? And so, so the way things work in our house, I'll tell you how we do things. So, so Jeff and I, and this like evolves, right? Like this changes. But this is really working for us well, I think, at this point. Jeff and I both wake up at about 6 a.m., which is about the time Eric wakes up as well. And what we'll do is we'll actually bring Eric into our room, and I will get up and take a shower while Jeff watches Eric in bed. Sometimes they'll watch, like an episode of Daniel Tiger or something. And then I will, as I'm getting ready and Eric's watching something on TV, Jeff will hop in the shower. I will take Eric downstairs. I will make Eric breakfast while Jeff is finishing getting ready. And then we'll clean up the kitchen a little bit. We'll play a little bit. Usually about 8 o'clock, Jeff will go upstairs and work for about half an hour just to kind of, start to process his day, figure out what's going on. And then I go upstairs and work at about 8:30. So we switch at 8:30. And Jeff watches Eric in the morning. And then we switch in the afternoon. So if Eric usually takes a nap in the afternoon, but sometimes we find he's not. And so so I will work until Eric basically wakes up from his nap. Okay. And I take a break for lunch and I go for a walk and I do some self-care stuff because God knows we have to do that today. And so that's a critical thing, right? In being realistic about what I can accomplish, I cannot take a 20-minute lunch. I take an hour and a half for lunch. I make myself something healthy. I eat slowly. I will, listen to a podcast while I'm eating or something, something that stimulates my brain. And then I go for a 30-minute walk. Okay. And if the weather sucks, then I will do a 30-minute walk inside the house. I will literally do loops inside my house. Eric usually wakes up about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And so, but sometimes he doesn't take a nap at all. So what I've decided to do is my core work that I have to get done gets done in the morning. Okay. And what I've started to do in my highlighter is I've actually, I use, and I've talked about this before, I use the Passion Planner, and we will put the link in the show notes for the Passion Planner. Because I really like it and it's undated and that makes me happy. But what I've started to do is I block off it's either client or creative time, right? So I'm recording this podcast during that block. And then what I do is I'll put in my afternoon block, and my afternoon block is kind of admin email. It's stuff that doesn't have to get done that day. So in case Eric doesn't go to sleep or he wakes up early, that kind of stuff can move forward. But typically the stuff in my morning block has to get done when it gets done. So, I think that's really critically important. I found that when I started to become more realistic about the hours that I had, I stopped overscheduling those blocks, right? So today, I'll give you an example. So today, I just started a brand new planner. So I'm recording this podcast. I have, and I recorded 2 episodes today. So if you watch on YouTube, if you watch episode 8 and 9, you're going to notice I'm wearing the same t-shirt. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to batch record when you have the time, right? I'm going to update tax return so I can get it out the door, right? Because I got the info I needed. I'm going to do 3 Instagram stories, which I've already done 2 of them. And then that's my morning block. So that 8:30 to 11:30 block, that's what I have scheduled in that block. Okay. Now my afternoon block, which is an hour and a half long, right? So I basically have it from 1 o'clock until 2:30. So that way I have a little bit of time to kind of decompress if Eric does sleep till 3. I'm going to go live on Facebook on our page. I'm going to try to get some billing done. And then I'm going to check all my email accounts really quickly to see if there's anything that I need to deal with. And then that's it. That's what we got. So I think it is really important that we are incredibly realistic, right? So I think it's the thing that really helped me. If you go to the Passion Planner website, and it'll be in the show notes for this episode, you can print out a blank week, right? To like check out their planner and see what it's like. And so what I did is I printed out that blank week because I use their daily planner. And I just sat down and I said, okay, realistically, what time can I get to my desk? Realistically, when am I going to have to leave my desk? Right? And I filled in those blocks, right? I created those blocks. And I said, okay, now, if I'm looking at these blocks, which block is least likely to get interrupted? Right? So if you think about your own schedule, and if you're watching your kids all day and your spouse isn't home, or you don't have somebody that can help you, then your block might be first thing in the morning. It might be during nap time, or it might be after the kids go to bed. Okay. And so you have to look at those and say, okay, and it might be like if you're homeschooling, if your kids are a little bit older and you're homeschooling and you have enough devices, don't even get me started with that. Then, you might be able to do some work while your kids are attending school. Okay. But look at those blocks and say, what blocks do I really, really have where I can focus? Then you pick, okay, which of those blocks is least likely to get interrupted? Okay. And like for me, my block that's least likely to get interrupted is that morning block. So this is when I do the things that are critical. The content creation, the client work gets done in those blocks. The afternoon block, which could very well get interrupted, that's the less important stuff. That's my admin stuff. That's stuff I've got to order around the house. Although a lot of that stuff I do at night. And then so sometimes what I'll do is like if that afternoon block gets interrupted, then I will come back and work in the evening after Eric goes to bed. I try not to do that, but if that afternoon block gets interrupted, I will do that. Okay, so be realistic about what you can accomplish during the day. Make sure that you have a really good handle on what your schedule actually looks like. Because it's kind of like the last episode we talked about having a handle on the money that you're spending, right? The more you know what your actual time looks like, what your actual numbers look like, the better you will do in your business and the better you will do in your life. Okay, so it's funny because thinking about this, I didn't really think about how related these two episodes are. So if you haven't listened to episode 8, go back and take a listen to that episode because I think it's going to be, I think that would be super helpful for you too. All right, mamas, listen, if you enjoyed the show, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. You can check out the show notes with the link to Passion Planner at smallbizmama.com. We also have a whole bunch of resources there as well to help you get through the pandemic. We've got all sorts of resources to help you keep your kids busy, to take care of yourself. There's some great meditation resources that are free on there that I absolutely love. If you know somebody that kind of needs help with this, if somebody's struggling with this, make sure to share the podcast with them. That's how we grow, right? We primarily grow through our listeners sharing the show with other people. So I hope that you will do that. Listen, I want you to be the best business mama that you can be for your family. And so that's why I do this show every week. And selfishly, it also helps me think more about the kind of business mama that I'm being. So I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Take care, mamas.
Thank you for listening to Small Biz Mama with Kristen Ingram. If you'd like to learn how to create more margin in your life, please visit us at smallbizmama.com. That's smallbizmama.com.